Hello, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is the live office hours for January 2023 for the School of Sweet Georgia. We come here once a month at the last Thursday of every month to sort of catch up, and we talk about all the things that have been happening inside the School of Sweet Georgia. My name is Felicia, and I'll be your host today. We are going to talk about a lot of things. Basically, we come here once a month and we give you a bit of an update about what's been happening behind the scenes with the School of Sweet Georgia, and also I get a chance to share a lot of the projects that you have shared with us inside the school. And this month is especially exciting because last month we released the double weave on 4 shafts weaving class, and there have been a lot of projects, and so very, very excited to share those all with you guys today. So I see many of you guys in the chat here today. It's fantastic. Wonderful. So let's get started. So this is going to be for today's live office hours. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're just going to go through some quick sort of updates about what's been happening behind the scenes. We're going to talk about some upcoming events. We're going to talk about the stuff that's happening inside the community forums, and as well we're going to talk about sharing your wins. It is very nice to see all of you guys in the chat here. Fantastic. Wonderful. You guys can see highlighted in blue there, Victoria. She is one of our moderators inside the School of Sweet Georgia in the forums. I also see Robin. Robin is also one of our moderators. Greta is also with the school, and Bridget is also with the school. If you guys ever have any questions about anything to do with the school, you can always reach out to any of us as well. So nice to see all of you here today. So let's talk about updates for the school. Now, last month in December, I believe, no, not December, November, we were talking about sort of the focuses for 2023, what we're going to work on, what we're going to focus on. And as an organization for all of Sweet Georgia, including like the yarn that we make, including all of the school stuff that we're doing, including the YouTube channel that we're doing, like all of the things that we're working on actually 5 main pillars or 5 main focuses for our whole organization. Now, related to the school itself, to the School of Sweet Georgia, there's 3 specific pillars that we're very, very focused on. And one of them is around education, one of them is around content and education, the courses that we're making, the tutorials that we're making, any of the videos that we're making, workbooks, everything that we're doing in terms of education. That is one big topic that we're covering. Another big focus that we have is around community and engaging with the community, focusing on community, all this kind of stuff. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. And then finally, the other platform that we are focusing on this year is our platform. So technology issues, platform issues, anything to do with the website, improving the website, ongoing improvements to the website, all of that kind of stuff. Those are the 3 main things that we are focused on for the school for this year. So those are some of the things that I definitely want to cover as we go through all of these updates. So the first thing is education, and just letting you know about the courses that are coming up in the next couple of months. One of the things that we've been trying to do is we realize that there's a lot of stuff to cover, and there's already a lot of courses on the school. I think there's something like more than 80 different courses that are available on the school, and they are all to do with fiber arts. So everything from spinning, from very, very beginner, like never touched a spindle or fiber before, all the way to very, very advanced techniques in spinning. We have weaving from the very beginning to now growing and growing into more and more advanced topics in weaving. We have the same for knitting, just like learning to knit from absolutely nothing, learning to crochet from absolutely nothing, and then gradually growing your skills more and more. And so one of the things that we've tried to figure out is a way to not present too much information at one time and allow everybody to kind of absorb and explore and enjoy the content and enjoy the learning process that we are sharing with you. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is that this past month we released Charlotte's crochet class. So Charlotte has been teaching crochet. Charlotte is our assistant production manager at Sweet Georgia, and she's been a long time crocheter. I think she started crocheting in like grade grade 8, something like that, like long time. And so she's been teaching our crochet course from the very beginning, like this is how you make a slip knot, this is how you hold your crochet hook, that kind of thing. And as she started to build on, these are how to make basic crochet stitches, then she moved into some content around how to shape your crochet, how to make, increases and decreases for your crochet. And then just recently, she's been teaching how to join different crochet pieces. So how do you take, say, like squares and then join them together using crochet? And the next one, I have this photo. I couldn't not share the photo because it's so pretty. But Charlotte is going to teach a class from beginning to end about how to crochet granny squares. And so you can see that that's actually coming out in April, in a couple of months, but I wanted to share the sneak peek of the project photo with you because it's just so pretty. So there's a lot of things that are happening on the crochet side of things. And then also in February, we have our spinning classes are coming back. So we have done a number of courses with Rachel Smith from Welford Pearls. She also runs a community over at Wool and Spinning. And so Rachel has come before to teach us about how to spin with different kinds of sheep breeds. How do you approach a sheep breed? How do you sample? How do you test? All of those kinds of things. And she does a very, very deep dive into working with different wools, different sheep breeds. And so she's going to do the same kind of analysis coming and looking at luxury fibers. So because luxury fibers is such a big and broad sort of topic, we decided to break it up into a number of chunks as well. So you can see in February, the first thing that we're going to release is silk. So how do you spin silk? What are the different kinds of silk? What's the difference between tussa silk and bombyx silk and airy silk and peduncle and all of these different kinds of silks? And so we have that course page already set up and it's ready. You can read through all the materials list. You can start to look at assembling the different silk fibers that you might want to test and practice and try. And so we do have a kit that is ready on the SweetGeorgia website. So you can go and find the kit that can go with Rachel's class if you need any silk fiber. But that's the first course that she's going to go through. You can see later on in April, we're going to release the second part of that course, and that's going to be about the camelids. So that is things like camel. So some different kinds of fiber that you guys will play with there. And then there's going to be another installment of luxury fibers, and we'll talk about cashmere and all these kinds of things. So that's kind of what Rachel is going to be teaching this year on the school. At the very, very beginning of the slides, there was a preview shot as well of a finished sweater. It was a finished blue kind of colored sweater. And that sweater is actually to let you know that Leah Learns Design is complete. So if you are just tuning in and have just learned about this, Leah Learns Design. Leah is actually our video editor. She's been editing the SOS course videos since the very, very beginning when we started in like 2017, 2018. So she's been editing all the videos since that time. And she wanted to, a while back, she wanted to learn how to design her own sweater. And so Tabitha Hedrick, she is our design director at SweetGeorgia. She handles all of the knitting patterns, coordinating the knitting designers and all of these kinds of things. And so this workshop is basically Leah receiving mentorship from Tabitha and guidance on how to go about designing your own sweater from nothing. And so we're very, very excited that this last installment has arrived because it means that Leah has actually finished knitting her entire sweater. It is a design of her own. It looks fantastic. And so that is going to come out in February. That was like one of the most requested and most highlighted courses. And people were very curious to see, how Leah's sweater was going to turn out. So that is coming in February as well. In March, we have a live lecture with Laura Fry. Laura Fry is Master Weaver from the Guild of Canadian Weavers, and she has been coming every other month to present a live lecture to us via Zoom. And so she's talking about sort of more in-depth topics related to weaving. So she's talked about weaving drafts, she's talked about yarn choices, different kinds of yarn, like the fiber blends and the materials that make up yarn, how yarn is constructed. There's been a lot of things that she's talked about. And so The last lecture that she did in January was called Form Follows Function. And that is basically about making design choices based on what you want your fabric to be able to do for you. How do you create a hand-woven fabric that would be good for curtains versus good for skirt fabric versus good for a pillow fabric? Like, how would you choose? How do you make those decisions? So that lecture happened in January, and you can find that online already. But the next one that's coming up is called The Full Spectrum, and that's going to be happening on March 1st. And so I hope that you guys will join us for that. And if you can't make it, because it is in the daytime, Pacific Standard Time, I think it's noon, I think it is. But if you can't join us then, we always record it, and it will be archived and available inside the school to watch later. As well, last year we had Debbie Held. She's a spinner and spinning instructor. She came to film here in Vancouver with us. And so she filmed spinning with an e-spinner in person with us, and it is going to be fantastic. We brought in a number of e-spinners to compare with. So we have everything from the Ashford e-spinner 3. She brought in a Daedalus e-spinner, which is like, it's huge and amazing and quiet and just, wonderful. We also borrowed a Hanson e-spinner. We borrowed some electric eel wheel EEW Nano and the full-size EEW e-spinners. And so there's kind of like a comparison of all of these different e-spinners, but then also talking about how do e-spinners work and how can you best position them for ergonomics and all these kinds of things. So that is going to be a really great class to go into as well. So that is kind of a bit about the content that's coming up. If you guys are ever curious, I think Greta or Vicky posted in here the roadmap actually to the school. So if you check out the content roadmap, it will basically show you what has been released this past quarter, but then also what is coming up for as long as we can foresee. So we have content scheduled up until the winter of 2023. And so there's a number of things that you can look at. If there's any courses that you feel like, we haven't covered or we haven't done, any topics that you wish that we could do, just let us know, because we've been adding things to our wish list of things to make in the future. And so that's definitely something that would help us to determine, what is it that you guys want us to teach about. So fantastic. These are all wonderful. Greta is putting all the links to all of the courses and all of the information there as well. Fantastic. Elena saying, I'm looking forward to the silk course. I've had a silk spin on my traveler for the last few years, so maybe I'll get going on it again. Yes, silk goes a long way. It can be really beautiful and enjoyable to spin, and I just think a lot about taking that hand-spun silk and then putting it into some hand-woven cloth. Like, what would that feel like to weave with your own hand-spun silk? These are some of the goals and challenges that we'd like to explore in the future. So that is that about the courses. The other thing is about the technology side and the platform side. So that is like the website side of things. Now, this is something that we just updated this past week, is that we have been for a long time having to update the menus for the website. And that is because we grew actually quite quickly. We sort of proliferated the number of courses that everybody wanted. That was one of the first bits of advice that we received from members, is that they wanted to have more courses as quickly as possible. And so we worked really, really hard on proliferating all of these courses. But then we got to the point where we'd put out all of these courses, and then it needed a little bit more organization and a little bit more sort of cleaning up, tidying up, trimming, and sorting things into the correct places. And so we've tried to update the menu system so that it's a little bit clearer for everybody to understand. So if you go under the Learn tab, then theoretically you should find all the different crafts that we're doing. This will also be expanded a little bit as well. Learning resources. We have a number of different ways that you can learn. It's not just 100% courses all the time. We also have a lot of tutorials, very short tutorials. There's also articles that are being written every month by many people. Some of them are in the chat right now. Like I'm looking at Amanda, I'm looking at Robin, Debbie as well. There's articles every month about something topical to do with something about learning the fiber arts. So you should check those out as well. And our old study groups have been reformatted as study guides. And so study guides provides you with sort of like a step-by-step way of working through a specific topic. Like if you're wanting to learn how to dye with natural dyes, how do you do that? How do you step-by-step break that down so that you can process all of that information? So that is there as well. And then we've created also these learning paths. So if you're coming to us for the very first time and you want to learn how to spin, you never touched a spindle before, never touched fiber, where do you begin? And so the learning paths sort of show you which courses to take in which order in order for you to build on all of your skills. So this is something that we are over and over again going to be working on. Under the create section is a listing of our different patterns. So we post all of our patterns available for download for all of the members. So PDF patterns are available for all of our members. And we have knitting patterns, crochet patterns, and weaving patterns now. And as we start to grow out sort of the projects that are created from the patterns, we're going to start to create more of a project gallery. This is kind of a holding spot right now, but that's where that information is going to go in the future. So all of this is kind of happening behind the scenes. Yeah, and Kelly's saying, I didn't realize that there was all this extra stuff. Yes, there is more to the school than just the courses. So I wanted to make sure that I was sharing that with you. So also related to the technology and platform side of things is that we have put, it's a kind of a small note in the weekly newsletter, so I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but we are going to try to do some regularly scheduled downtime. So that means that on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we sort of turn on the maintenance mode of the website, and so that we can tinker with the back end and get things updated, updating plugins, updating things that have to be updated for the website, just making some changes behind the scene. And it shouldn't take more than about 1 or 2 hours at that time, but we thought that we should announce and let you know when this updating of the website was going to happen. Because in the past, I would sometimes update the website and it would disconnect people who were watching videos. It would cause some issues. People would be like, oh, what's wrong with the website? The website's down. The website wasn't down, it's just we were updating it. And so just to let you know ahead of time that those updates, we're going to confine them to the time of Tuesday afternoons so that it hopefully won't disturb the rest of your studying and working and video watching times. Yes. Fantastic. The content roadmap has recently been updated. I believe that was Bridget who did that, so thank you very, very much. The other thing is, I don't know if you have noticed, but for probably the past month, maybe 6 weeks or so, there's been a little chatbot icon back in the corner, the bottom right-hand corner of the school website. And so that opens up into this chatbot. And so basically this is if you have a question that you need answered sooner than later, sometimes using the chatbot is easier than using email. So you can just pop in here and then enter in a little bit of a message, and either Anita or Rachel or myself will see that message, and then we'll be able to reply to you pretty quickly. Yes. So hopefully that will be helpful as well. There's also a way that you can search for help in here as well. So if you have questions about anything to do with the school, you can check the help function as well. In the coming weeks, we're going to be updating things like the project gallery, just trying to give some instructions for how to use it and what to do with it. And once all of these updates are sort of cleaned up and tidied up and things are a little bit more set, then I'll be ready to record a new member orientation course for everybody, so that way you know what's going on. Just one thing I wanted to highlight and mention is that this shop tab of the website actually goes to the SweetGeorgia website. So we have two websites. We have SweetGeorgia website, which is the shop and the blog and all the yarn and the supplies and all of that kind of stuff is on the SweetGeorgia website. And the school website is the courses and the articles and the study guides and the blogs and all that kind of stuff. And so they are quite separate. So if you do need to purchase any supplies to go with your classes, you would visit the SweetGeorgia shop website, and it requires a separate login, separate account. They're not the same. They don't go back and forth. But I would encourage you to check that that out. And also we do have, Greta posted a link to it, but we do have a discount code for all the SOS All Access members. So it gets you 15% off all of yarn and supplies and things like that. It's not on equipment, but it is on yarn and fiber. So I encourage you to check that out if you did not know about that already. Now, upcoming events. This is our February calendar. You can see what we have been trying to do is we host a sort of a follow-up class on Zoom. It's a follow-up sort of meetup on Zoom with the instructors of the different courses that we have recently launched. And so you can see here, there's going to be a weaving on rigid heddle loom sort of catch-up call, and this is going to be with Amanda Wood. And so that's happening at 12 p.m. PST on Wednesday, February the 1st. And then there's going to be another one on the 15th, and this one is going to be about crochet with Charlotte. So again, these two on Wednesdays, these are sort of follow-up classes. So in case you watched the class about rigid heddle weaving and lace with pickup sticks with Amanda Wood and you want to ask her some questions directly, you can join in on that call and then just have a conversation. Maybe you show some pieces that you've already done. So we did this back we did one yesterday with Charlotte for crochet, and then earlier on this month I did one for the double weave class. And it was just nice to be able to chat with members inside the school about the double weave projects that they had, any challenges that they went through, and it just gives us a chance to answer questions that you might have during that time. You can see we also have Monday knitting meetups. These ones are hosted by Robin. And so these ones, you can bring your knitting project, bring your crochet project, you can bring your spinning and weaving, you can bring whatever you like, and then just come and join in on the conversation at that point in time. We also have on Saturdays, Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, is a weaving and spinning meetup with Vicky. Again, you can bring your knitting and crochet to those sessions as well, where you bring whichever project you're working on to any of these sessions, but these are just opportunities for everybody to get together and meet. Finally, we do these live office hours the last Thursday of every month. And on Fridays, I do a live stream version of the Taking Back Friday at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Fridays. And so that's not specifically a school activity. It's more like a SweetGeorgia YouTube activity, but we encourage you guys to come and visit for those as well. So this February 10th, that live stream session, I'm going to be talking about time blocking. I'm going to be talking about how to make time to actually make your things. And so last month we talked about setting goals, and I had listed out all of these goals of things that I want to accomplish within this one quarter. And so February 10th, we're going to talk about, well, how am I going to break out my schedule so that I could actually block out time to do all of those things. And so hopefully we'll go through that entire exercise. And if you want to follow along with that, I encourage you to go and visit the Epic Cloth Challenge. And so that is inside the school. It was a workshop that was inside the school, and there's a download in there. And the download for the Epic Cloth gets you sort of like the bucket list, 100 ideas to inspire your own goal setting and planning. But it also includes a timetable, like an ideal week timetable to create your own schedule. I also talk a lot about, how to break out your time and all these kinds of things. So I encourage you to do that download. That download is really, really helpful, I think. So that is what is on for February. Now, let's quickly talk about the forums. So, you guys inside the school, you will know that if you hit the community tab, you will get the community forums, which is a space where we're having sort of very deep, in-depth conversations about the things that we're learning inside the school. And so, as I mentioned before, we have two amazing community moderators who are in the forums every day. Vicky says sometimes multiple times a day she's in there. So Vicky and Robin, and they help to answer any questions that you have. They welcome new members. They're just kind of like checking in as well. We encourage everybody to write about their learning plan at the start of the year. What is it you want to work on for this year? And Vicky and Robin will very often go into these learning plans and just kind of check in with you, like, hey, how are you doing with the things that you wanted to learn about this year? Like, how is it going? Are you having any sort of stumbling blocks? Is there anything that we can help you with? All of those kinds of things. So these conversations continue to happen inside the school community forums. the instructors for the school, like you'll find Laura Fry's in here, you find, Diana Twist, Kim McKenna, all of our School of Sweet Georgia instructors are inside the community forums, also answering questions as well. And so they are going to be there. It's a good place to ask your questions if you have questions about the courses. Now, last month, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that we were going to try an experiment, something a little bit different. And so for that, we decided to start a Discord server. And Discord, if anybody is wondering what that was basically a software platform that was started by people who were gamers. So people who wanted to be able to play video games together and then also chat about their video games, or like have voice chat or video chat and talk to each other while they were playing their video games. But this piece of software has now been adopted by many other kinds of groups, not just video game people, not just gamers. So you can actually use it for work if you wanted to, but you could also use it to get together with like a community of people who all share the same interest, which is what we're using it for. So Sweet Georgia, sort of the yarn side of our business, we sometimes will do these make-alongs, we do mystery knit-alongs, and we thought that kind of chat and conversation is a little bit different from what happens inside the school forums. It's meant to be a little bit more casual. It's going to be lighter, all of this kind of stuff. And so we created this Discord server for Sweet Georgia to have make-along chat and all this kind of stuff. And so if you want to join the Discord chat, you can just click on that link. It's sweetgeorgiayarns.com/Discord. It will take you to Discord website with the right invitation code, which will get you into this entire forum. But you can see it's like we've actually set up a number of different channels here. So there's a hold along channel. So that's for our February make along. Mystery knit along is our knit along that happens in around August. And then text channel. So anybody who wants to talk about crochet or dyeing or knitting, CSM knitting, machine knitting, spinning, weaving, or punch needle. Punch needle was requested by Leah because she's doing a ton of punch needle right now. And if you want to talk about any of the videos that we've posted on YouTube, we have like a couple of channels for that as well. But the Discord server has grown very quickly over the past week and a half that it's been live. And so it's been great. It's lots of conversations are happening in there. A lot of people sharing. If you go to your dashboard inside the school, you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a section there where there's a button that says connect your SOS account to your Discord account. And so that, if you click that button, it will automatically assign you the role of SOS member in the Discord. And so you can see on the right-hand side here, this is like the member list here, you can see that if you are a member of the school and you're also in the Discord, it will highlight your name with orange, and then we'll be able to say, oh, I can find you inside the school as well. So like Juliet is saying, the Discord interface, it's really easy to use, and you can just pop in and catch up on conversations. So it's really a quicker way of sort of chatting and communicating with everybody. But we wanted to offer these two different ways of engaging with the community, because sometimes you need to have like a really in-depth threaded conversation where you're having a conversation about one specific topic, and then other times you just want to share a quick photo or share a quick win or whatever it is. And so we wanted to be able to offer both of these different ways of communicating with each other. So let me know what you think of the Discord, and I hope to see you inside there. So this is very exciting. We're going to talk about all of the things that you guys have shared inside the school forums, the projects that you've made. It has been incredibly inspiring. So I want to start off with this one because it's amazing. This is by Catherine. Catherine basically wove the double weave sampler bags, the bread bags that were in the school. So we had that double weave course come out, and there was three projects. One was like a sampler to weave double weave. One was like extended, like a bigger bread bag kind of project. And then one was a double width blanket project. And so in this one, this is like the sampler that has been made into little bags. So you can see She said that she used the blue and green blue and kind of yellow green, blue and green. This is according to the pattern specs for the sampler. And so then she made this into like a little drawstring bag. You know, you can see this twisted cord up here with the two different colors. It's gorgeous and amazing. So this is the first bag. You can see this is the log cabin color work that's happening in here. And then it just so happens that Catherine also took Jennifer Moore's double rainbow, double weave class. And so this is a class that I took 2 years ago, last year. I don't even remember. Time is just all whatever. But yeah, Jennifer Moore's double rainbow class is amazing. And it allows you to use 6 different colors, and you kind of mix and blend different colors. And so Catherine said that she had leftover warp from that workshop. And so she just kind of assigned 3 of the 6 colors as the light colors. And so she tied those on as green. And then she had 3 other colors in her warp. And then she assigned those to the dark color, the blue threads. And then she just kind of tied on like that and then wove the rest of her warp. And so you can see all of this amazing color mixing and blending that's happening in here. And if you're wondering how that came about, that's how she organized her colors. And so you can see a tiny little bit of that color and weave effect happening right here, kind of like that log cabin stuff, but it's happening right here. And also because changing colors randomly in the weft is causing these stripes to happen as well. It's gorgeous. If you want to see more of what Catherine's been doing, you can follow along here on this thread. Beautiful. These are Cindy's double weave bags. So she was saying learning double weave was one of my goals for 2022. So I was very excited about this course. She says, I love trying this project, even though it was a challenge for me. And so she wove her sampler in Just Beam, which is that 3-2 organic cotton. It's wonderful. We use Just Beam for tons of stuff. But I thought it was so clever what Cindy did here, because when I made these bag projects, I made this it was a big warp. I can't even remember how many ends it was, maybe 140 ends, but it was wider because I was thinking you would put a loaf of bread inside. But it's obvious, like you could take the small sampler project and also make small project bags. I think it's a great idea. So she used the sampler project, which is a narrower warp, and then made those into little project bags. And so she's got her knitting inside each of these bags. So cool. So that was a really, really great idea. This one is Lauren's double weave blanket. And so she used a number of the colors from our new sort of elixir colorway set. So at SweetGeorgia, we've been developing this new color system. And so this first part of the color system that's been released is called Elixir. And so it has, actually, I have it right here in front of me. You guys can see these color chips. These are all the Elixir colors. Ta-da! And so the colors that she has chosen here are Black Raspberry, Twilight, Stormy Night, and Winter Haven. And so she mixed them all together to make that cabin blanket that we have the pattern for. And she wove it on the 36-inch 4-shaft Leclerc Nihilus, which is a jack loom. And then she pulled it off the loom, and then she gave it to her grandma to celebrate her 80th birthday. Super, super nice. If you follow this link, you'll be able to see other photos of this blanket on the loom and then off the loom, before finishing, after finishing. It's fantastic. So congratulations on that. And then also wonderful that your grandma got to enjoy it on her 80th birthday. Happy birthday. This one here is by Linda. So Linda actually joined us for the Zoom call in January. So if you rewatch the replay of that Zoom sort of Q&A catch-up call for the double weave, you'll see Linda talking about this blanket, and you get to see it, like she holds it up in person. It's fantastic. So this blanket, if you follow her thread of conversations on the forums, it's actually very, very interesting, because she decided to use her warp and weft doubled. So effectively, when you go and you look at this fabric up close, it's actually basket weave. So there's 2 warp threads and then 2 weft threads at a time, held doubled. And so what she used is she used Maurice Broussard 4/8 cotton. held double in the warp and the weft. Vicky's saying there's so much math that went into this. So there's a lot of math that you can follow in the forums. But it's very, very, I just find it amazing because she wove this entire blanket on a table loom, right? And that it's possible to weave this massive double width blanket on a table loom. So that is very, very cool. So she said that she did like the fabric. She got to weave a sample ahead of time. Sampling was good for her, she said, because she did a bit of a folded sample and practiced with the fishing line. And then she realized that the fishing line wasn't working for her. It didn't work out the way that she wanted. And so she ended up weaving the entire blanket without the fishing line. And like we talked about in the course, there's a number of different ways that you can sort of navigate the challenges of that fold, of weaving that double width fold. And so she chose to do it without the fishing line. And then she talked about her selvage. So with her selvage, she was just very, very specific about how she laid in the weft yarn. She really paid attention to that fold, so that way there was no draw in, there was no crowding of that area of the fold. And so you can read her very detailed instructions on how she managed the fold if you follow this link here. The other thing is that when she was beating, she said that I'm by default a light beater, so this is not very hard to do. She had to beat a balanced like a 50-50 weave. And so for basket weave, you don't have to beat very, very hard. The other thing is that she found that this cotton blanket before washing was 89 inches long. She said it was huge. And then after she washed it, it ended up being 77 inches long. So about 13% shrinkage for both warp and weft. So this is an important thing to think about, like how much is your fabric going to change after you wet finish it. And then the realization that she came out of this project is that she would like a wider loom. So congratulations on this blanket. I think that this was such an amazing challenge, and it seems extremely successful. Just to have to work through all of the sampling over the holidays and to work through all the math and then figuring out how to slay it. And because when you think about doubled warp ends, we're already trying to put 4 warp ends through one slot of the reed. So in this case, with the doubled warp, then you're putting 8 strands, and then there's a lot of things to think about. So congratulations on that, Linda. This is another one of the cabin blankets. This one was woven by JWS, and they didn't specify what yarn was used, but he just said that the blanket folded up very nicely because of the yarn, and it's very rustically soft. But it looks beautiful. I think that it's just so interesting to see how all of the colors mix and combine, and it's just a fun blanket because you can just see all the different colors and how it turns out in the end. So that was really lovely. He also made the other project, which was the double weave bag. So this is the sampler bag. You can see there's a bit of modifications in terms of like the color and weave section and things like that. And so he said, I wove it with the Ashford 5-2 mercerized cotton with a set of 15. And I could not choose between weaving the dish towels or the bread bag, so I just made a longer warp and then wove both. So that is fantastic. It looks great. It looks fantastic. So those are all the double weave projects that were shared. Well, I think most of the double weave projects that were shared inside the forum. So congratulations to everybody on tackling this brand new technique, and just so happy to see all the projects that have come out of that. Now I have some other things to share with you. Rebecca in the forums has been sharing a lot of things around dyeing her own fiber and mixing and blending and trying to create new colors. And so if you follow this thread, Rebecca's posted many photos actually of dyeing primaries and then carding color triangles. She's also been dyeing a bunch of things using a lot of Deb Menz's book, Color and Spinning. It's a bit of an older book, but it is phenomenal. Deb Menz's book is one of the things that got me into spinning with multicolored fiber and trying to mix and blend and combo ply and combo spin and all these kinds of things. Deb Menz's book is just classic if you can ever find that book. But yes, she looked at a lot of Deb's recipes in there for the dyeing, and she's been sort of experimenting with a bit of those as well. And so this is just one of the photos that Rebecca shared. Rebecca also has a couple of photos where she's done entire color triangles with all of these carded fibers. They just look amazing. But just a little tiny little poof of color, mixing and blending all of these different dyed fibers together. So pretty. It's just mesmerizing to look at. So I hope that you guys have a look at that, Rebecca's dyeing experiments. As well, Amanda, who is here in the chat as well, Amanda's also been doing some mixing of fibers as well from, I believe that they are hand-dyed colors to begin with. They're dyed primary colors, and then she's mixing the secondary colors from this. And so if you follow this thread is fantastic. Amanda's talking about starting with different kinds of primaries. Some are cooler primaries, some are warmer primaries, and the kinds of colors that you can get from each. So she's showing this particular palette is this earth-toned palette, sort of like beautiful earthy warm colors, because they're coming from like a warm red, a warm yellow, and a warm blue. And so this is just something that she's kind of playing with right now. One of the techniques that she's talking about here is she's using hand carders kind of mixed up, and then she's taking the fiber and then putting it on the blending board and then dizzing it off. So this is a technique that Kim McKenna has demonstrated a couple of times in various classes. But this idea of putting your fiber on the blending board and then using a diz to pull the fiber off makes this super smooth fiber preparation that is just beautiful. And so you can see how clean and beautifully mixed everything is here. And that is probably from that technique of blending board and then dizzing it off as roving. So fantastic. Beautiful stuff. Oh, and Amanda's also spinning it up right now. So that will be lovely to see all of these beautiful fibers all spun up into yarn. Fantastic. I have another project here from Catherine. This pattern is not inside the school. This pattern is actually, I believe it's a free pattern. It's a free pattern that's available on the GIST website for Halvdral towels. And so this pattern is designed by Ariana Funk, and originally I believed it was using GIST Duet and some A2 cotton mixed together. And so here, Catherine is using some various yarns that she's had in her stash. There's some 5-2 mercerized cotton, there's some 3-2 beam, there's some 3-2 mercerized cotton, there's some boucle, there's just a whole bunch of things I think that Catherine's using as a bit of a de-stash, kind of de-stashing her weaving yarn. But these colors are just amazing and awesome and bright and vibrant. And it just, if you imagine having these towels in your kitchen and seeing these every day, you would just, it's so fun. It's really just, I want to say life-giving, because it gives you energy to look at these. And I would love to spend time in my kitchen if all my kitchen towels looked like that. So yeah, completely different palette from what Amanda was showing previously with those earthy colors. Those are also super warm and cozy colors. But you can kind of see how, like, even between the two of these, like, these colors make you feel cozy. They're, sit by the fireplace, sip a cup of tea, that kind of feeling. And then these colors, all of a sudden, completely different, just really invigorating and bright and lively and energetic. So just really enjoying all of these. And if you follow this link, perhaps Catherine will have other different experiments with the different colors that she's going to be popping in here. So you can see kind of like the oranges popping off the blues, and just greens and reds and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of contrast of hue here, and a lot of complementary colors, which when you look at it, you're like, oh, it all works together. But these are really complementary colors that are setting each other off. Very, very fun. This is Nina S's Twill Gamp. So she finished this, and she said she's done this more than one time. And she said, this time I made it with Laura's method of threading the heddles and slaying the reed. So if you watch Laura's class, The Intentional Weaver, it has a section where Laura demonstrates how to thread the heddles in a very ergonomic and fast way. And so Nina was following those instructions, and she said it was actually very, very fast. And so she's made this twill gamp using Maurice Broussard's 8/4 cotton, and she used a 12 ends per inch set for this. And I think she was saying that next time she would probably tighten up the set a little bit to make it a little bit denser. And then from this information, she would then, at one point in time, make dish towels out of this, because all these patterns are super, super fun and lovely to look at. So beautiful job. Really, really nicely done. Also wanted to share this one with you. This is from Andrea's learning plan. If you go to the learning plan sections, some of these are very, very active. Some of the learning plans are very active with sort of updates monthly or, every couple of weeks with different things that have been added. And so this is something that Andrea posted about, and it is basically that she was submitting all of these items to her guild's juried show. There was a few sweaters, she said, that she did not submit. She virtually submitted them because she didn't want to be without the sweaters. And then she did a scholarship presentation about the SOS, about the School of Sweet Georgia, and what she's learned in here. And so I can already see in here, this project here is the clasped warp class that Amanda Wood taught. There's some color and weave down here with rigid heddle. It's amazing. There is this one, it looks like it's a twill project. It's all wrapped up. It's a very, very long warp. It looks like it's all wrapped up. Twill project here. There's a bunch of knitted sweaters, knitted shawls. This, you can see it just from this angle, but because it fits better on the presentation. But if you go to the thread, she has shown this from a different angle as well, and it's amazing to see everything that she's created. Oh, back here on the couch, there's all of these bobbins of hand spun yarn back here. There's just a lot. And so this is one of the things I really, really encourage you to check out the learning plan section of the SOS forums, and I encourage you to write your own. If you check in, once a month and say, what did I do this month? What have I achieved? What have I accomplished? What have I learned? It is amazing to be able to go back and look at everything you've done and just be like, wow, I actually did quite a lot of stuff. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it because you're just on to the next. But if you put them all together on a couch and just like look at everything that you've created, I think that you would be very, very impressed with all of the things that you have worked on. So congratulations, Andrea. This is amazing, amazing, beautiful. We have here Birgit's hand spun yarn. So this is some 3-ply handspun that she's created. She says it's been about 2.5 weeks of practicing and watching SOS tutorials, and I've learned a lot, really quite amazing, really. This 3-ply is this week's accomplishment. I'm chuffed, to be honest. She says, but how do you measure wraps per inch? How closely do you wrap the yarn? This is how I measured, and I can't really believe it's 23 to 24 wraps per inch. And so she's just wondering, how do you measure wraps per inch? But first, I just want to say how beautiful that yarn is. That 3-ply yarn is so lovely. It's beautifully plied. It's beautifully spun. Look at how consistent it is. It's just perfectly round. It's some really, really lovely hand spun right there. If you do follow this thread, actually Vicky provided a very, very nice discussion, follow-up discussion about how to measure wraps per inch. And this is already looking really, really great. I think that wraps per inch as a guideline is very personal. It depends on you because nobody else is going to wrap yarn around a ruler the same way that you're going to wrap yarn around a ruler, depending on like how much tension do you put on that, how closely do you squish it. All of that is going to be very much it's individual to you. And so just as long as you are consistent with your own guidelines about how you wrap your yarns, then you're going to get a wraps per inch measurement that is kind of individual to you. And then you compare your other hand spun to that hand spun. So it's kind of like a reference, it's an individual reference. But yeah, good guidelines are to wrap it around the ruler without stretching it too much, without squishing it too much, without putting all the yarn, squashed up next to each other, but just laying those strands, gently, softly next to each other so that there's no gaps, so that they are all, completely covering that 1 inch space of the ruler. So those are good guidelines to follow. But that yarn is seriously really, really lovely. Yes, Brigid is unnatural. Beautiful. I think we all aspire to make yarn like that. It's lovely. And finally, I have a photo here of Matt's tapestry studies. So again, this is on Matt's action plan, Matt's learning plan. I encourage you to go check this out because Matt has been working through all of the exercises in the Fundamentals of Tapestry course. So I'm pretty sure that in one of my previous live office hours, we looked at Matt's meet and separate sampler. So he did the meet and separate exercise, and then there's another photo in this thread where he's done the gradient mixing, the mixing of colors and making a smooth gradient progression through the different colors. And then this one is shapes and blending shapes, and you can see there's some stripes here and these overlapping circles. He's done these as like little bookmarks, a very, very narrow warp on, I believe it's a Murex loom, but just really, really well done and very comprehensive, because just going through everything methodically, step by step, doing all of the exercises, and you can see the learning happening right before your eyes. It's amazing. Yes, like Juliet's saying, very, very inspiring, and is learning very, very fast. So very excited to see all of this, because, once you get to the end of doing all these exercises, then it becomes like, well, what else can I do with this? What else can I mix and blend? What other colors can I use? What other sets can I use? What other yarns can I use? So really excited to see like what happens with Matt's tapestry once he's sort of completed all of these exercises. Where do you go from here? What are you going to do next? I'm very curious. Let us know what you're going to do next, Matt. Fantastic. So congratulations to everybody and all the amazing projects and progress that you've been making over the holidays and into the first part of this new year. It's just always nice to come here once a month and share all of these things. I'm just so proud and happy to share all these things that you guys have been working on. So fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, as always, we do a monthly giveaway. And so this month's giveaway, you can go to that link here, schoolofsweetgeorgia.com/live 2023 Jan. And we usually keep the survey or the giveaway form open until keep it open for 24 hours, right, Bridget? I think that's it. So we'll close it tomorrow, and then we'll pick a winner, and then that winner will receive, I believe it's a $25 gift card to the Sweet Georgia website. So I hope that you guys will have a look at that. But basically every month we just ask, we want to know, was this live office hours, was it helpful for you? What did you learn? What are you going to put in practice? All of these kinds of things. And we kind of go from there. And it really helps us try to improve the things that we're working on inside the school and what we're creating for you. So I appreciate all of you guys for being here today, for engaging, for being here and chatting and all this kind of stuff. It's wonderful to see you all. So the link is right there. And thank you for being here today. And that is basically it for today. I'm so happy that you guys are all here today. Thank you so much. And of course, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to email me. You can feel free to use the new chat bot again. You can feel free to join us on Discord and ask your questions there. And we just encourage you and want to see what you guys are making. And I will see you guys again next month at the end of February, the last Thursday of February, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And I'll be here and we can meet again. Thanks for being here. Bye, everybody.